How's it going, everyone? This is Eflex and welcome back to another A Producer's Approach video. In this video, we're going to be looking at Au5 and Fractal's song, Smoke. So if you guys haven't watched these videos in the past, I basically break down these videos into 3 separate sections. So I have an intro backstory section, then I have a breakdown analysis section, and then after that, I have an outro section. So this song, Smoke, is part of the Secret Weapon EP, which was released by Au5 and Fractal. And it was one of the first EPs where 2 artists that weren't like a group, they were like 2 separate artists, were releasing an EP together, which I had never seen before. And this was also the first time I'd seen an EP released with 4 different genres within one EP. So basically, Smoke is the electro song off the EP, Dreaming is the house song. The title of the EP, Secret Weapon, that's a dubstep song. And the other song, Blue, is a drum step song. So all 4 songs are different subgenres of EDM, which wasn't really a thing at this period of time in 2013. When I was listening to different EPs on Monstercat, they were either all pretty much dubstep, all pretty much like in one genre. This was kind of the first time I'd ever seen 2 different artists, like individual artists, collab on an EP and make a different genre for each song. Like it wasn't all just like a dubstep or drum step or a house or a electro EP, which was really insane and mind-blowing to me, which actually influenced me to make my diversity EP with Maison, because we basically did the same thing as Au5 and Fractal, in terms of, 2 individual artists from 2 different places collaborating on different songs to create an EP, and there were all different genres of music within our diversity EP. Just to name a few, there was house, there was synthwave, there was drum and bass, or more specifically liquid drum and bass, there was trance, and then there was down-tempo. So it's like 5 different subgenres of EDM in one EP, which when we were creating the EP, the diversity EP, Maison and I referenced this Secret Weapon EP quite a bit. And I almost want to say that this Secret Weapon EP was the main influence for us creating the diversity EP. Whether Maison knew it or not, that was my main influence for creating our diversity EP, which for me is my successful EP. So what I basically learned is having a different genre in one EP definitely serves like a really cool and kind of cohesive purpose within an EP. But I don't know, I look up to this EP quite a bit, and this is one of my most revered EPs on Monstercat, just for the fact that it was such a huge influence in making the diversity EP for me personally. So this is a Monstercat song, but it's not on Monstercat because they only released 3 out of the 4 songs on the main Monstercat channel back in the day. But for some reason, they didn't put Smoke on the channel, and this is one of my favorite songs actually from the EP, if not my favorite song. So I was kind of confused why the electro song got left off of the main Monstercat channel, but anyways, that was in the past in 2013. But I do remember when the song came out, and I really enjoyed it, listening to it on Galaxy Music. So I'll stop talking and I'll let you guys listen to Smoke. So let's get going. Alright, just that intro is really cool. Starts off really kind of ambient, kind of almost spacey like, kind of almost like you're in a trance. And then that kind of lead sound comes in, like like that sound comes in, you hear a lot of the reverb and delay. Just kind of builds the space, kind of builds the kind of the tone of the song as kind of a more spacey type song, which is like a little mysterious and spacey, at least from what I get every time I listen to this song. So then the percussion starts coming in as like a sweep comes in, like a VFX sweep comes in, and it just starts going from there. Alright, so you have that kind of main intro kind of lead sound playing, which is really cool. The kick comes in, and then you hear a little bit more of the bass line, and then you hear kind of these clicks sounds play for a little bit. And I think it might be a kick and a snare, but the snare is not super punchy from at least what I noticed. And then eventually that kind of lead intro sound phases out or transitions to this next section where you kind of have a little bit more focus on the bass line and the percussion, and there might be an alternate lead I think playing here, but I think for me more of my focus was on the bass line. So let's continue and see. Alright, so there wasn't like a clearly defined lead as there was kind of in that intro section, but there are different leads. There's like a ARP playing in the background, and then there is kind of a lead that comes in and out, I guess. It doesn't play like the whole measure. It plays maybe like half the measure at the end of certain phrases, which is really cool. But more of the emphasis was mainly like on the bass line, I would say, in that section. And then this part here, it transitions into more of the plucks, which is really cool. And this is kind of where the dreamy aspect of the song kind of starts building up. So let's listen to it and keep going. Alright, so I really like that section. So you hear the plucks, you kind of hear the ARP playing in the background. You have like kind of a one-shot sound kind of coming in here and there. And then you notice the ARP gets a lot louder, and then the chords on the that are playing like the pluck chords, they eventually have like a higher frequency, so the envelope kind of opens up a little bit for that sound. So more white noise is almost added to those plucks, so it gets like there's like way more high frequency, and the ARP gets louder and it kind of builds up there, and then it kind of transitions into the build up section here where it kind of I feel like it's the ARP or different sound transitions, and it's playing some of the notes, and then it's going to slowly transition to the drop section. So I'll go over the build up a little bit, and then we'll go into the drop after I play a little bit. All right, so the pluck sounds kind of like the envelope for that sound kind of closes a little bit, so they get a little bit lower. And also there is some filtering and some volume automation to lower the sound. And then some of this, like that lead sound I was playing, eventually lowers as well. And then the percussion comes in as well as a transitionary VFX, almost like a white noise sweep. You kind of hear some snares, and then you hear more of the kicks. You hear 1-2 kick, and then it's just going to go straight into the drop. So this is where you hear a lot of the sound design of Au5 and Fractal really coming into play. So let's keep going. All right, so that first drop is pretty much the complextro drop, which is really cool. You really hear the sound design fully on display between these two. The rhythmic percussion is a 4/4 rhythm, so kick on every beat. I think a snare on the 2 and the 4 and some hi-hats, but you really just hear kind of those wubs and stuff really following a progression, not like a stacked chord progression, but like an actual kind of bass line progression. And then you have like the wubbing sounds kind of thrown in here and there, having a full column response. And then you have a little bit of like arps or synthetic leads, kind of synth leads playing to kind of complement to, kind of ease into not just, having wubs playing all the time, to kind of go back into like a more musical notation structure. To kind of complement the end of the phrases, and then goes back into the wubs, which is really cool. I really like that drop because I just love the sound design from Au5 and Fractal. If you guys have seen me breaking down the songs from Au5 and Fractal, or just Fractal in the past, or just Au5, just both of them are just geniuses when it comes to sound design. But after that complexo drop, it switches into this more melodic drop. So let's listen to this and keep on going. All right, so that melodic drop was pretty good. The lead comes in, plays along with the chord progression, where that's more introduced with some saw waves, from what I can at least tell. 4/4 rhythm still, and then I like how the lead plays, and then there's that kind of arp that goes do 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 do. Like that's kind of a nice accent, almost like to kind of finish off that phrase of the lead synth, and just kind of a nice variation. And then slowly the drop kind of fades out a little bit, the sounds kind of fade out, and then there's kind of that sound design sound, almost like a wub in a sense, and then it just transitions back into kind of that beginning pad sound. So let's keep going. All right, so within that break section, it's pretty similar to the kind of intro break section in terms of structuring and sounds for the most part, except it doesn't have that arp like it did in the beginning. In the intro of the song, there's kind of that arp or kind of intro lead sound, along with like a arp lead sound that came in a little bit after that lead sound. I don't really hear that sound, so most of the focus was mainly kind of on the bass line and just kind of having a little bit more not to say emptiness, but a little less high end going on in this section to kind of emphasize the pads and the kind of bass line and the percussion happening in this section. So now you kind of hear that arp sound slowly coming in. So it's just kind of a little bit different. I like that variation because it gives a little bit more focus on the other sounds that you maybe not have focused on in the intro of the song, because those lead and the little arp leads were in there. So let's keep going. All right, so this part is a little bit different than the build up into the last section. So this section actually has the art playing for a little bit, and then it introduces the pluck sounds, but they're playing like a little bit different of a chord progression than they were in the last break section. And that kind of ARP sound in the beginning kind of phases out or fades out, and then another different ARP sound plays with that kind of chord progression starting to play, and then the snare kind of comes in. So there's way more emphasis on this drop in terms of the percussion building up, with the kind of plucks playing like a different kind of chord progression from what I can tell. So there's some nice variation there, which is really cool. And the emphasis on this part again is to kind of emphasize like, okay, this is going to be the final second drop, and then we're going to end this song. So I kind of like the movement and the structure there to change it up a little bit with that chord progression. You don't hear that all too often in songs, so it's really cool to hear, and the little arps and just the focus on different sounds in this section. So I think there's a white noise sweep in this section, and it might be a halftime drop, but we'll see. So let's listen to the second drop and outro, and I'll talk more from there when we finish. Alright, so that's Au5 and Fractal song Smoke. So we'll back up a little bit to the second drop. So the second drop was cool, had a little halftime rhythm there, a little kind of halftime switch, going into that more complextro type drop. And then halfway through that first drop, it transitions back to a 4/4 rhythm. It's really cool. You really get an emphasis of the kind of different sound design sounds and wubs in that halftime drop, since it's exaggerated a little bit more, since it's slowed down a little bit more, so you kind of have more emphasis and focus on those different wub sounds and how it kind of follows a progression. What I do like kind of coming out of that complextro type rhythm is just kind of like a choir kind of like, or vocal, maybe from Fractal's sister or something, where she kind of sang is like reversed and has reverb, almost like a tail there, and just kind of used as a transition into the more melodic drop, which is pretty cool. And then the outro is pretty cool. They kept the percussion with the kick and the snare going in the outro for a little bit, and then they had that kind of main kind of pad sound, that sound, and then eventually the plucks kind of fade out to end the song. So overall, this is Au5 and Fractal song Smoke. This is actually the last song on their Secret Weapon EP. This song is insanely good. I do love Dreaming and Smoke, and I do love Secret Weapon and Blue, but I think Smoke for me is just like the most unique song on the album. I really do like Dreaming a lot because you don't ever see Fractal and Au5 make house music, but Smoke is just this unique song that like it's so unique. Like that pad in the beginning, like it just kind of takes you to like, at least me, like it takes me to like a different like world, like just reminds me of this like really uplifting spacey vibe, like you're going like on a space adventure, on like a space exploration or something. That's kind of what I feel like listening to the song. But overall, the song's really good. The sound design is just impeccable. It's just always good. It's Au5 and Fractal. The pads, just to kind of world build, I guess, and build and set the tone and theme of the song is really good. The use of the arps are really good. The variation in the structure is really good. I like that for a 128 song to have a halftime switch. You don't hear very often, especially in 2013. That wasn't like a huge thing at this time. And you know, I like how they had the ARP in the beginning of the song and that kind of beginning lead sound, and they didn't have that in the second break and kind of second build up sound is as much of a focus, and they changed the chord progression in the build up into the second drop. So I just like the focus within that second break section kind of on the bass sound and the percussion and just kind of the other sounds that you might have missed in the intro of the song. And the overall kind of structure of the drop is really good. I like to start off with the complextro drop and then going into a more melodic drop. And overall, this song's just really good. It's kind of why this EP influenced my Diversity EP so much, because every song I will say that Au5 and Fractal collaborates on just individually before this EP was already really good, and then making an EP on top of that with 4 different genres to me was just like icing on the cake and just the pinnacle of like what you should do for an EP in terms of making an EP for an EDM label, or just making different songs within an EP for EDM subgenres. So to me, this is just one of those all-time EPs I go listen to, reference a lot when I'm making music. Definitely reference this one a lot when making the Diversity EP. Like, I always would come back to this EP and see how like things transitioned within this EP and just the flow of the music and stuff like that. So Au5 and Fractal, as you guys know, it's like one of my favorite duos, if not my favorite duo in the EDM scene. And I wish I could have seen both of these guys live together, but unfortunately Fractal doesn't really make music anymore. Au5 still does, so I have a chance of seeing him, but I don't think he plays a lot of his music that he made with Fractal as much anymore. He has a lot of his own music now, so he plays a lot of those. But again, I'd love to see Au5 live because his song Eden and just countless other songs are insanely good, as well as collabs with Fractal. But if I could have seen these two kind of like Madion and Porter on a Shelter tour, like I would definitely have loved to seen that. But I don't think these two ever played live together. And Fractal used to play live when he was still producing music, but now I don't think he produces that much music anymore. So would have loved to see these guys live, but again, their music lives on through this Secret Weapon EP and all their collabs. So anyways, I hope you guys like this breakdown video. Like, comment, subscribe. Definitely all those help. You know, comments I try to respond to as much as possible and as fast as possible, and subscribing always helps. If not, just liking the video helps too. So anyways, if you guys haven't listened to Au5 and Fractal's music, definitely go check that out. If not, check out the Secret Weapon EP and you'll kind of see what I like about the EP and just the different genres and overall feel of the EP and what he was doing in the time period of 2013 that was, I would think, pretty like thinking ahead in terms of, you know, making an EP that's, you know, pretty timely and still can last to this day and doesn't sound like an outdated song, so, or an EP in that matter. So anyways, I hope you guys like this video. Sorry if it's a long one. I just really want to talk about the influence of this song and this EP overall. So anyways, I'll see you guys in the next A Producer's Approach video. And in terms of the structure and scheduling of the videos, it's going to change. Sometimes I say it's going to be Wednesday, Saturday, but I might change it back to Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, just because I like to see the videos actually come out with a little bit faster. So it could alternate between the two. So if you all of a sudden see the videos popping up on different days, then you'll kind of know what the structure is at that time period. So anyways, I hope you guys like this video, and I'll see you guys in the next A Producer's Approach video. All right, everyone, have a good one. Peace.